Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. We did this about 30 days ago, and I went through all of the various necessities as it relates to using the database. I want to cover a couple of things again. So this might be a little bit of a repeat for some of you. And for some of you who didn't, obviously weren't able to join us last time, this will be new information for you. I do like to point out on the database, reference solutions. This is my home key. This is my main navigation key. So if I'm in one module and want to get to another, I just select this. We do offer webinars every Tuesday and Thursday. You're welcome to attend any of those. We also have, under our Learning Center, I shared my email address, but if you would prefer to reach out to anyone in our organization, our contact us is listed here, as well as down here. So certainly feel free to send us an email or to give us a call, and any of my colleagues that might answer the phone would be able to assist you in whatever you may need related to the database. I also like to point out these training materials here. If in fact you would need to use any of these, we have a listing for each of our modules, and then also a data dictionary based on business or consumer data. And then we have one that's for all the business modules, of which there are several, all the consumers, and then one for all the databases. So know that you could utilize that information as well. You could print that off if you wanted to. You could have another tab open and get access to that information to help you build your query. So certainly know that that's information that you have access to. And I'll just go back to my dashboard here. The other couple of things that I do like to point out are the app. So we do have an app that's available, and there are two modules that you can find in the app. That would be the US Business and the US Consumer modules. So know that when you download that, you would put in your zip code, it would pull up a listing of libraries in that area. You would click on yours, input your library card number, and you'd have access to that app. And also, last but not least, personal accounts. You can register for a personal account and then log in and save any searches that you might do in any of these modules, except for the jobs and internships. All of these are our modules, so you can save any of those queries and come back to them at whatever point in time is important to you. In fact, there's a different update schedule for these. I'll explain that real quick here. Our US business information that we're call verifying here in Omaha, we update any new data that we get about a business every Thursday into Friday morning. So throughout the course of the year, it's gone through 52 updates. Weekly, obviously. The historical business information is being updated at the beginning of every new year. Our Canadian information is monthly. Jobs and internships, that's nightly. The US new business filings, reading those through the Secretary of State's office, that's being updated weekly. Our US healthcare, standard white pages, consumer lifestyles, and our Canadian white pages are all monthly. And then the US new movers, new homeowners. This is being updated weekly. What we're doing is we're fully licensed to brush our database up against the national change of address. So we're capturing those new homeowners or new movers through that information. As well, we're learning in some cases about businesses that have moved as well, as you can imagine. So certainly take advantage of any or all of those modules. Today, I'm going to focus on, in essence, two primarily, the US business and the US consumers. Remember, as I mentioned the last time we met, that the processes that I'll explain and go through are the same for all these various modules. It's just different criteria that you're ultimately going to end up using to drive in your results. So with that said, let's open up the US business database. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through an example of a business that's looking for more business to do business with and expand their business. So I have a group that I work with. You're probably familiar with the organization called SCORE. I did a program with the SCORE up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, up in that area here recently. And one of their clients is he's an artist in many respects. He builds fine furniture made out of white pine, and it's all harvested out of Minnesota. He sells it to hotels, motels, restaurants, and he wouldn't sell it to McDonald's, but well, I'm sure he would if they wanted to buy. But he sells it to mom and pop restaurants. He also wants to start selling it directly to consumers. So he's looking to expand his business. He has himself, and then he has two additional employees that work for him that are both apprentices learning the business, right? So he obviously is looking to expand not only the number of employees if he can get enough business, but also looking at who he is selling his products to. So we'll start off on the business side of the house. I'm going to forego this quick search page because what I really need is going to be found in the advanced search. So I'll select advanced search. And by the way, these additional filters goes to the same place, advanced search. It's opening slowly. There it comes. It's not had enough coffee yet. So what I want to be able to do is start to identify those particular types of businesses that would most likely perhaps buy my product, right? So with that said, let's just go down to keyword search. That's the simplest way to search the database for those types of businesses that I need. And if you remember right, we always look at just those verified records. Those unverified, I could certainly search this universe. I might find some opportunities that are in there. But for right now, I'll stick with these verifieds. So I'm going to open up that keyword search. And as I mentioned, he does sell to some restaurants. So we could always include restaurants in our list. And you'll see when I get done here the different filters that I'm going to use so I can get to certain types of restaurants. I, again, don't want to necessarily reach out to or have a list of McDonald's or Burger Kings or any of them in my list. So I'm going to search for all restaurants. And this will give me their SIC code along with that description for restaurants. There it is. I'm going to click on that, add it to my list. I'll save the geography for last. We'll come back to that here in a moment. We did use a filter. He did want to identify those businesses with an owner present. And if I get my mouse in there, so we can add owner. I've got restaurants. Now, he also wanted to look at hotels and motels. So I'll just go with motels and search for that SIC code so I can put multiples in. Here's my all-inclusive for motels and hotels. So I'll select that one. And as you can imagine, you could think of other perhaps types of businesses that he could market to, but we'll go with those two for right now. And then it's a matter of, we're going to come down here under ownership, and we're going to look at privately owned companies. And we're also going to open up the headquarters branch, and we're going to go with single locations. And then we're going to grab the number of employees. So he didn't want real large businesses, right? So we'll grab a couple of those ranges And then we can also overlay sales volume. So let's say, he wants to obviously to be able to do business with companies that can afford his products, right? So you can make your determination on what you would like to include. And if it's too tight to filter or too broad of a filter, you can always alter it. So I'll just grab a few of these ranges. And then it's a matter of my geography. So what he wanted to be able to do is he wanted to be able to look at several states. He works a lot in Minnesota, has lots of customers in Minnesota. So he wanted to look at these by state, and then he wanted to also branch out. So we would grab Minnesota, of course. There's my Minnesota. He also wanted to do Colorado. I know I already passed that one. So there's my Colorado. He also wanted to do North Dakota and South Dakota. So again, you can search using the database in any given city or state you need to look in. So here's my North Dakota, and then I'll have my South here and my South Dakota. So I've got my 4 states, and I can quickly, this is the total number of businesses that I have that are verified businesses across the entire universe. I'm going to update my count because I'd like to get a sense of how big this is going to be, right? It can't be too big. So I have 1,755 businesses that match my interest based on these selections that I've made in these states. So certainly an appropriate list size so I can view my results. And I have that listed there. Now, something that you could do is you can use this charts feature to get a sense of those businesses by, and I'll show you that. So it's going to break out those top 7 cities across those 4 states. So in Denver, Colorado, I have 234 of those businesses that match my size requirements. I have 154 in Minneapolis. Obviously, St. Paul, Fort Collins, Colorado Spring, Boulder, and Rapid City. Then I get a complete report, of which it's 23 pages in length, of all of those cities across all of those states that I was looking at. So great way to get a sense of what you have in the geography that you've selected. Chances are you'd probably want to start with this first group. You could actually open this up. And if you remember right at the top of the presentation, I mentioned that you can create your own personal account. Guess what I could do? I could come right here and save this search. That way, I can come back to it at any point in time. I'm just beginning to build this, right? So I can come back to it at any point in time and then take a look at it. Maybe I'm going to alter some things with my list. But at this point, I could save it. I can always download this information. If you remember right, all you have to do is scroll down to the bottom of the page and it will tell you how many downloads you can do. So know that you could get all of these 234 results in just one download. So how great would that be? So let me show you how you would do that. You would simply select next to company name, that box, and it grabs all 25 records on that page. Then you advance to the next page, and you would just keep doing that because you can do it up to 1,000. You would just keep doing that through all those pages. So that's going to be about 10 pages. Let's see. I'm at page 8. There's 9. And 10 has just a few left. Then at that point, if I wanted to download this information, I can come right here to my download option, Comma delimited is definitely what you want to use if you plan on making mailing labels. And that's exactly what this gentleman was going to do, is make mailing labels. And then he's going to send out a postcard with information about his business, and obviously offering a discount to try and get those people to make a purchase of his products. So comma delimited. Summary will include the name of the business, the address, phone number. It'll also include that owner's name and their title, how many employees they have, the sales volume, line of business that they're in, etc. And all of that is going to be on this Excel document. So you would have access to all of that information, and then you could save that on your computer and prepare to make those mailing labels based on that information. So know that that's something that you can certainly do. I'm going to close this guy, and I'm just going to go back to my list. If this list were larger, let's say that there were 2,000, you have to get your 1,000 records done and then set that aside and come back, and you would need to get rid of all these check marks. Easiest way to do that is just select that revise search. But in this case, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go back to my chart. I want to go back to my chart here, and I can always get into more records if I wanted to. I can do whatever I need to do. Maybe I just want to print this out. I could certainly do that. I can make it part of a PowerPoint presentation. Maybe as part of this process, he's captured this insight because he intends on going to a lender. He's going to buy more equipment for this approach he's taking, and he needs some more equipment, is going to get a loan. He could utilize this information when explaining his need for this loan. So I can always go back to my results. And if this list size were too big, let's say it were too big, I could go back, and maybe I wanted something closer to 1,000 records. I want to start with a little smaller universe. There's a couple of filters that I could choose to use. I guess I would go with the sales volume and perhaps take out this lower one and see what that does to my total. So, wow. So a lot of those businesses were in this universe of 500,000 to a million. So know that when you're building your search, you can kind of check and get a feel, get a pulse of the nature of those businesses. So know you can do that. I'm going to leave that universe. I do want to show you another tool. And this is our heat map. So you can deploy the heat map. You have to have at least 50 records available for the heat map to display, and it goes all the way up to 50,000. So I'm going to deploy my heat map, and this is a density map. So it will show you based on, I'm looking at those 4 states, based on where all these businesses are at in this search that I've done in these 4 states. So you can get a sense. And this is another great tool that you could make part of a PowerPoint presentation or print off and show that to that lender. So know you can do that. And it does give me a top 50 tally by all those zip codes. So I didn't quite meet that number of 50. I'm a little shy there. I could switch this up to sales volume if I wanted to. Let's look at it from a sales volume standpoint. So not real surprising. Obviously, here in the Minneapolis area, lots of those kinds of businesses with those sales volumes in those areas. A little bit here, this is Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Rapid City, South Dakota. Certainly the Denver area, and that corridor that goes up to Wyoming here. You would go through Boulder and Greeley, all those other Colorado cities there. So great way to be able to look at this. If you change it, and it does mention here that if you change the zoom size of this map to where it's 300 or fewer records, this is what you'll see. And I'll just go towards South Dakota. Couple of clicks, and then it pinpoints, it overlays the listing here. It overlays that listing with all of those locations. And then it's just a matter of clicking on, there I've got Medicine Creek Bar and Grill in South Dakota. If I wanted that information, I could click on it and it would give me where that's at. So it's in Blunt, South Dakota. Frankly speaking, I've not been to Blunt, South Dakota. I've been all over South Dakota, but not to Blunt. So know you can do that as well and get this listing on this left-hand column. If I wanted to know where this Blue Jays was at, I can click on it and it will take me to that record. So know you can do that as well. I'll go back to my results. And again, as I mentioned, you could print this, you could save this. You get to do with it what you need or want to be able to do. Let's look at this grill. So here's an example of what every record is going to look like, right? I've got this location information there in Denver. Have that phone number, have their web address, the line of business, that primary line of business that they're in. I won't have a business profile on smaller businesses like this. So we just updated this record in November. When we called them, they told us they had 10 employees. Now, one of the questions we don't ask is how many of those employees are full-time versus part-time? We just want or need to know that total number that they have, because that goes into, if you remember right from our previous presentation, we're not asking these small businesses how much money they make. That would end the phone call rather rapidly. We're putting together an algorithm using information like primary line of business, how long they've been in business, where they're physically in business at, because there are variables all over the place there. And then we also use the information that we get through the Bureau of Labor and Statistics to finalize that algorithm that produces this number. So know that this is a modeled number. We didn't call this restaurant and ask them for that. Then scrolling down, I have that management directory. So remember, I asked at the outset, show me these records with an owner present. Company news would be through Bing. There won't be any company news on this small little business unless it were probably bad news. Stock data, there isn't any because it's a privately held business. I had those business expenditures. Again, that's modeled information. Then I have a little bit of historical, including historical records. I also have any kind of UCC filings, of which they did one in 18. So they took out a loan and put something up as collateral. That's what that source filing number is about for their business. I also have the nearby businesses because I have the latitude and longitude embedded in the background. And then, of course, I'll always have a listing of competitors. And I say always, as long as it's a for-profit business, I'll have a listing of competitors. If it's nonprofit, churches, etc., I won't have a listing of competitors. So no, every record is going to be set up just like this. Any questions before we move on here?
Doesn't look like there's any questions in the chat. I will let you know, Bill.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to go back to my listing and revise that search. No, I could be also looking at this using this map-based search tool, which is also a very popular tool. So we did this with this gentleman when I first met him online a few days back. So let's get rid of the states. We're going to get rid of all those states. So this universe now becomes all those businesses that match that criteria across the United States. I'm going to open up my map-based search tool, and it appears in my list here. I'm going to open this up. I don't want to change any of my criteria. I'm going to open this up. It's a little sleepy yet this morning. And then I'm going to select my zoom to field. So let's do this. This gentleman was actually out of this county. It's Crow Wing, Minnesota. And again, this can be anywhere in the United States, Alaska and Hawaii included, along with Guam and the gosh, what else? Other Puerto Rico. Now here's my zip centroid for this particular county. I'm going to back out. I want to show you a larger view of the map so you can kind of see where this is at. You've got it here. Let's see, Minneapolis is down here a ways, down here. So what we wanted to do, what we did with him, at least initially, is we looked at it from the state boundary. So you can see as I back out on this, it is going to show the state of Minnesota. And what he wanted to do is he wanted to kind of draw an imaginary line across the state here at St. Cloud. So we went and returned to the tools, and we selected draw a shape, and we just went across Minnesota. So there's St. Cloud. So we started with a single click, and then a single click to change direction. What are you doing? You better not. For some reason, it's not liking me right now. I apologize. And well, what am I'm gonna go back to my boundary and select my tools again, draw my shape. Thank you. Well, what is going on that's not working? I'm going to try another one of these tools. That one's working. That's odd. I'll make the example using this radius. The draw a shape, I'm not certain why it broke. As you can see, you can go out with the radius. You must be along the radius lines of 150 miles or less. So that's too big. I'm going to draw a shape again, and I'll start here in the center. So there's 20 miles, there's 50 miles, there's 117. Oh, I'm so close. Oops, too long. I'm right there. So it would capture the number of those businesses that's in that area. And the same thing is true with the draw shape. I'm not certain why my draw shape is acting up. I'm going to try this. If that's all I needed were these 636 results, I could say done and then view my results. But I'm going to try something. I might be too far out. Let me get in a little closer. I'll try that. That might be just the ticket. I may have been too far out. Yep. So is this, so it's less than 150 miles. Oh, no, it's not. Well, I'll do that again. We won't go as far as. Okay. We won't go as far as. There's 112. I want to try and get over. We'll say that's up. Then you can go up and you can go up. So you can draw your, oh, I went outside that 150 mile mark. I'll get a little closer again. I'll go from Glenwood. So you can see how many miles I've gone there and there. And double click to finish it. And then it will calculate how many results you have in there that meet your criteria. So know you can use any of those tools, including this drive route. So this could be a great tool for folks to use as well. So know that that is all you would need to do, and then you can get those results just like I showed you before when we selected those several states. So know that you can do that, use that tool as much as you need to complete your results or get your results. If there are no questions, I want to take you to the consumer lifestyles to show you exactly what we were going to build for him on the consumer side. So I'll open this up. I'll go right to advanced search again. And when he learned that we had the information about people who were interested in home improvement and decor, we opened that up, selected the home decorating and furnishing option, and then we added in estimated home income. And let's just start at, we'll just start at 100 and we'll go up. And then it's just a matter of, again, putting in whatever geography you're interested in. So if you wanted to use just a few zip codes, you could do that. You can do it. Maybe you want to just look at a few counties. We'll do his county, for example. So again, I would select Minnesota in this case, and his county was Crow Wing. There it is. So just in his county alone, as it relates to people who are interested in home decorating and furnishing, and I'm going to do one per household. I only want one record at an address. So I have a total in that Crow Wing County of 1,430 people that match his criteria. So it is, again, just like I did on the business side, you could always, if this was too large of a number, you could always cut it down, or you could add additional, maybe I want to go up to 300,000. What does that get me? So that gets me 1,700. If my magic number were, let's say, 2,000, I guess I'd see if I can't add a couple of more of those to get closer to that 2,000. So here's 500 plus. So that really didn't change my universe much, but if I add this 90 to 99, I'm sure that will. So now I'm over 2,100. And then when you go to those records, and again, you could save this search. If you wanted to chart this, let's chart this. So I've got it by home income here. I know those ranges. So it's going to give me the estimated home value, but I might want to switch it up to city to get a sense in that county of where those folks live in which cities. So Brainerd, Minnesota has the most results at 620 that match my interest, followed by Baxter. You get the idea here. So a great way to be able to look at that. Maybe I'll start my campaign off in this community because it's the largest of those, and I'm going to start and see what kind of response I get. Or maybe conversely, maybe I'm going to start in a smaller area and see what the response rate is, and then test that rate against the next community. So you get the idea. You can actually frame this a variety of different ways in order to get to some of that information you may need for your success. All printable or can be made part of a PowerPoint presentation. And let's look at their records. Now notice it does state here that any of the phone numbers displayed, they might be on the do not call list. So you can't be using that for phone solicitation unless you have the appropriate cleaning done to this list, right? So we do that kind of work. Obviously there's a fee involved. So does the do not call registry. So you could certainly check that out if that were something you wanted to do. He wanted to be able to do a mailer. So he wasn't concerned about phone calling anyone. So this is what the record is going to look like. We'll look at Olives here. So we have that address information, been in this home for about 29 years. Everything that we've seen about Olive's address is she's married. We do have that neighborhood information listed. And then those are the lifestyle interests for this family. Now, the only thing that we asked about was home decorating and furnishing. So we do have a scoring system that runs behind the scenes, and it's 0 through 9. We will only show you records for people who score a 6 or higher. So this family is certainly active in this home decorating and furnishing. So you would get that on, or that type of insight on each of our consumer records. So he was planning on doing some mailings to these folks to let them know about his business. So he was going to go in several states to try and secure some business from those companies, but he was going to stay more local, at least initially, to start reaching out to consumers. Any questions? On the consumer data. Again, I can put this on the heat map if I wanted to. All those same tools are available.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we have any questions. Oh, I'm sorry. Do these lists have email addresses for email marketing?
Oh, great question. Let me go back here. You will see on all of our result pages a listing for the total number of records and then the email addresses. And it says there's more information. So when you click that, notice it's directing you to contact our office. We sell those. With consumers, we have to approve how they're going to be used. With businesses, you can purchase those all day and twice on Sunday. But with consumers, obviously, it's a bit more delicate. So certainly feel free to reach out and check on that pricing. I don't know personally what that would go for because I don't sell. I do all the training on the database, but I know we sell a lot of email addresses. So that is certainly something that you could pursue. The other thing that you could do, and you wouldn't necessarily be able to do it on consumers, but I have encouraged folks to do this in the business universe. You can come into the business universe and I'll go to advanced search. So if you wanted to email to businesses, it would be labor intensive. I won't pull any punches there. It would be labor intensive, but you could come down here and you could say, and whatever other criteria you're going to use, and you could say, only show me those companies that have a web address. And then you could mine those web addresses to see if you can get email addresses on those and then put together your own little campaign. That would be a workaround. Any other questions?
Bill, I just want to mention that based on our experience here at the Miller Center,
Yes.
there has been much success the old-fashioned way of either sending out a mailer, a postcard, a letter, or for businesses to actually just pick up the phone and call. So we're hearing a lot of successes in that respect.
I want to show you all. I'm going to show my mug here. I want to show you a mail piece that a customer. I met this gentleman down in Birmingham, Alabama, and he's a contractor, and he builds these beautiful outdoor kitchens. Now they're quite expensive, so obviously he was looking at certain individual homeowners that had certain home values, right? I want to say His least expensive model is somewhere in that $40,000 range.
Okay.
So he had these postcards put together. They're quality postcards. He had these postcards put together by us, and we sent these out. Now you could do the same thing if you had that capability, right? Or you could have someone local do that. It's up to you. But no, you could do that. And Sal, you're absolutely right. There is certainly a lot of opportunity the old-fashioned way.
Definitely. And like I said, we're hearing about a lot of success in that respect.
I bet. I can imagine. If there are no other questions, that concludes today's presentation. I hope that was helpful information for you, and know that you have access to the database 24/7, right?
Absolutely. 24/7 and from off-site, so you can access it from home, from your office, using your Miller Business Center membership, your HIA membership, your Middle Country Library card. So definitely take advantage of this. Bill, I'd like to thank you once again for coming down and doing this great program for us.
I can't wait until we can do these kinds of things in person.
Absolutely. That would be great.
Yes,
That would be
yes.
fantastic.
Tomorrow, let's do it
There
tomorrow.
you go. Yeah. Really quickly, just want to mention that again, this program will be on our YouTube page. You'll be able to watch it there at youtube.com/Miller Business Center. If you have any questions, you can email Bill or myself. Uh, and uh, and our next program with Bill is on March 24th at 10 a.m. And it's more specific towards folks who might be looking for a job. And we're very much looking forward to that one, Bill.
Excellent. So am I. Thanks so much, everyone. Have
Thank
a have
you.
a great rest of your day.
Yeah, take care, everyone. Thanks for coming.